Every morning he walked outside to pick up his mail. And every morning it was the same, shattered pieces of plastic, scattered across the lawn. But one day he'd had enough. So he built something even the police couldn't believe. And what happened when Karen struck again? Let's just say, sparks flew, literally. Marcus Johnson was the kind of neighbor every community dreams of. Recently relocated from Atlanta for a new tech job, he bought a modest but beautiful house in a peaceful suburban neighborhood lined with trimmed hedges, chirping birds, and driveways that glistened after the morning hose dashed down. Marcus wasn't just a software engineer. He was a polite, respectful, soft-spoken man who believed in minding his own business. Every Saturday, you'd find him mowing his lawn with earbuds in, waving kindly to passing neighbors. If someone's trash can fell over in the wind, Marcus picked it up. If the elderly lady next door needed help unloading groceries, Marcus was there, no questions asked. He never hosted wild parties, never parked on someone else's lawn, and certainly never disturbed the peace. But somehow, to one person, Marcus's very presence was a problem. Her name? Karen. Well, technically, nobody ever confirmed her real name. But everyone knew who she was, that one neighbor, the self-appointed sheriff of the street. She had binoculars by the window, a phone always ready to dial an endless list of things she didn't approve of. And unfortunately, she had zeroed in on Marcus. At first, the signs were subtle. Long, icy stares from across the street. Passive-aggressive muttering when he walked past. One time, Marcus waved and smiled. Karen turned her back without a word. He brushed it off. Maybe she was just having a bad day. Maybe it was nothing. But the next week, a note appeared on his door. Your car was parked 2 inches over the line. Please be considerate of others. His trash bin? She called the HOO when he left it out overnight by accident once. Still, Marcus didn't bite. He was raised better than that. He believed in staying calm, taking the high road. But then, things started getting weird. A loud accidental honk every time she drove past his house. His Amazon packages randomly misplaced. And then, the first real sign that Karen wasn't just a nosy neighbor. One morning Marcus stepped outside and his brand new mailbox was lying in pieces. At first, he thought maybe a car clipped it. But something felt off, and he had no idea this was just the beginning. Because what came next would test his patience and ignite a revenge story the neighborhood would never forget. It started small, barely noticeable. One morning Marcus stepped outside with a fresh cup of coffee, ready to start his day, only to find a small dent in his brand new black mailbox. Nothing major, just enough to catch the eye. Maybe a careless delivery driver, or a kid on a bike perhaps. He didn't think much of it. Accidents happen, right? But the next morning, it wasn't a dent anymore. The side was cracked, the flag broken off. Still, Marcus chose patience over paranoia. Maybe someone had bumped it again. Then came day 3. Marcus opened the front door and froze. His mailbox wasn't just cracked, it was obliterated. Pieces scattered across the yard. The post was bent sideways like it had been hit with a sledgehammer. It wasn't an accident anymore. This was deliberate. That's when Marcus knew. Someone was doing this on purpose. So he did what any tech-savvy man would do. He installed a small security camera, angled perfectly toward the street and mailbox, hidden, discreet, and by the next morning, the mystery was solved. There she was, Karen. Marching across the street in slippers and a bathrobe, baseball bat in hand, like she was stepping onto a little league field. No hesitation. No fear. Wham. Whack. Smash. She swung like she meant it. Over and over. The camera caught every second. Her face, her stance, the fury in her eyes. She wasn't just annoyed, she was angry. As if Marcus's very existence across the street was some sort of offense. What would you do if your neighbor kept destroying your property every night and nobody seemed to care? Marcus thought, this is it. This is the proof I need. He took the footage to the local police department. Their response? It's just a mailbox, one officer said with a shrug. Maybe try talking to her, another added. The HOA? We don't deal with criminal damage. Contact the authorities. It was like no one cared. No consequences. No help. But Marcus? He didn't panic, he didn't yell, he just smiled. Walked back to his car and whispered to himself, okay. Game on. That night, he began planning something Karen would never see coming. Something she'd never forget. Karen thought she had won. But what she didn't know was that Marcus Johnson wasn't just a quiet guy in tech, he had a creative side, a calculating mind, and a whole lot of patience. He also had a background most wouldn't guess it just by looking at him. Back in college, he had worked part-time in a metal fabrication shop. Marcus could weld. So instead of losing sleep over Karen's late-night demolition projects, Marcus made a few calls. A buddy from his old welding class hooked him up with industrial-grade steel plating. Another friend supplied him with reinforced concrete mix, and Marcus? He got to work. By the weekend, something incredible stood where his old mailbox used to be, a fortress. The mailbox wasn't just made of steel, it was a thick, triple-welded casing bolted to a steel rod, sunk into a 3-foot-deep concrete foundation. It looked normal on the outside, sleek and painted matte black with a bright red flag. But inside? That's where Marcus' real genius kicked in. First, he installed a motion sensor that would detect any touch after midnight. Second, it triggered a deafening air horn, the kind used on trucks. Third, he mounted a strobe light that would flash rapidly, disorienting anyone nearby. Fourth, a GoPro was installed discreetly inside the box, recording everything in crystal clear HD. And finally, just to spice things up, Marcus wired a small harmless electrical jolt system, kind used in novelty doorbells. It wouldn't hurt anyone, but it would definitely make someone jump. The entire setup? 100% legal. Marcus checked every law, every ordinance. He even documented the process, just in case Karen tried to play the victim later. Hook, if you're going to keep smashing someone's mailbox, maybe don't pick the guy who builds tech for a living. By Sunday night, the trap was set. Marcus didn't have to wait long. He knew her pattern. Same time, same slippers, same bat. Only this time, she wouldn't be walking away quietly, and this time, everyone would see what really happened when Kareem picked the wrong mailbox to mess with. The sky was dark. Street lamps buzzed faintly. And Marcus? He was calm as ever, sitting on his porch, sipping a hot cup of coffee, watching the quiet street like a man waiting for a movie to start. Except this time, he was the director. The mailbox trap was live. The GoPro was rolling. Every sensor, every alarm, every light was ready. All that was missing was her. And then right on cue, Karen appeared, still wearing her robe, slippers slapping against the pavement. This time, she wasn't carrying a wooden bat. She brought metal. Hook Kalan. She thought this would be the night she finally taught him a lesson, but she had no idea. She was walking straight into one. With the cold steel bat in hand, she stomped across the street like she owned it. Glanced around, didn't notice the tiny camera light, didn't suspect a thing. She raised the bat over her head and swung. Clang. The sound rang out like a bell. But the mailbox? It didn't even dent. Karen looked confused. She tried again. Clang. Still nothing. Then, click. Bzzzzzt. A loud crackle of electricity burst from the base. Just enough to jolt her back and make her scream. The motion sensor triggered the air horn, which blasted like a train. But the strobe light exploded into the night like paparazzi flashes. Karen stumbled backward, shrieking in panic, swinging her arms wildly like she was being attacked by invisible bees. She fell onto the grass, rolled onto her back, and screamed at the top of her lungs. Within seconds, porch lights flicked on. Doors opened. Cell phones came out. Is everything okay out here? What happened? Is she hurt? Red and blue lights flooded the street. A neighbor had already called 911, thinking someone was being assaulted. But the real assault was uncommon sense. And Marcus? He sat calmly on his porch the entire time. Coffee in one hand, phone in the other, recording the chaos like he was watching Saturday night TV. Karen looked up, eyes wild, and finally saw him filming. That moment? That's when she knew she messed with the wrong man. That night didn't just change her life. It changed the neighborhood forever. The next morning, the street was buzzing. People were talking. Neighbors whispering over fences. Some pretending to water their lawns just to catch a glimpse of Marcus's now infamous mailbox. But the real drama? It was happening on Karen's porch. The police had returned, but this time, Karen was ready with a story. She booby-trapped it, she shouted. That mailbox is a safety hazard. He did it on purpose to hurt me. She pointed across the street like she was exposing a war criminal. But Marcus, calm as always. He walked out with a tablet in hand. No yelling, no drama. Just cold, hard proof. He pressed play and everything unraveled for Karen, crystal clear. Footage from multiple nights. Karen sneaking across the street. Karen swinging the bat. Karen laughing to herself after smashing the old mailbox. And then the big finale, Karen getting zapped, blinded, and humiliated by her own choices. There was no denying it anymore. Hook, when you get caught in 4K. Playing the victim doesn't really work. The officers watched in silence. One even shook his head. That afternoon, Marcus got a follow-up call. Karen was officially being charged with destruction of property and harassment. She wouldn't be going to jail, but she'd have to pay fines, take anger management classes, and have a formal restraining order filed. The HOA? Suddenly very apologetic. They sent Marcus a formal letter saying they regretted their inaction and offered to reimburse him for the custom mailbox. Marcus, ever the gentleman, politely declined. I already got what I needed, he replied with a smile, and from that day on, everything changed. Neighbors who once looked the other way now waved at him in the mornings. Some even came over to shake his hand. The quiet man they had once ignored. Now the quiet hero of the block, even Karen's own husband, red-faced and clearly embarrassed, shuffled over one day and muttered, I'm sorry, man. She's like that. Marcus didn't hold a grudge. He just nodded. We're good. And Karen? She never stepped foot on his lawn again. Never glanced his way. Never touched a mailbox again. Hook call on, because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud, it isn't violent. It's just letting someone destroy themselves with their own actions. And Marcus? He never lost his cool. He just upgraded his mailbox and let karma do the rest. So, what do you think? Did Marcus go too far, or was it the perfect revenge? Let us know in the comments below. And if you've ever had a crazy neighbor story, don't hold back. Hit that like button, subscribe for more wild real-life stories, and turn on notifications so you never miss a twist like this one.